It's the late 15th century. Japanese shogun Ashikaga Yoshimasa is watching one of his servants prepare his tea in his favorite Chinese bowl. As the servant carefully mixes the ingredients of the tea together, her hand slips on the rim, causing the bowl to fall to the ground and shatter. The noise startles the shogun as he turns his attention to the servant's eyes. She's visibly shaking. With a calm smile, Yoshimasa says, "Not to worry, all things can be put back together, even if they won't be what they once were." This tea bowl was heavily revered by the shogun, so he decides to send it to China to be fixed instead of replacing it. After a few weeks, he receives the bowl back and examines the methods used to fix it. It was mended with staples, a practice in which metal is inserted into drilled holes on either side of the break to keep the pieces together. His disdain is apparent in his indifferent facial expression. There must be a better way to restore this bowl's beauty, he thinks to himself, and he brings the bowl to a local craftsman. "I want you to devise a different method to mend this bowl back to its original shape, one that enhances the beauty of it rather than reduces it. Can you do this?" "Without question, sir," the craftsman says, and he starts getting to work. Several days pass by, and the craftsman meets the shogun again, holding his newly repaired bowl. The shogun's eyes widen at its new design. The cracks have been filled in a way that he's never seen before. "What's been done here?" Ashikaga says. "As requested, I intensified this bowl's value, but not in the way you might think. Using yurushi, a natural lacquer made from the sap of a lacquer tree, I filled in the cracks with this strong and stable liquid, and dusted it with gold. This accentuated the broken parts, rather than drawing attention away from them." The shogun's smile couldn't be larger if he tried. "What you created here is the perfect metaphor for how humans should live their life," he said. And this is the practice that eventually developed into the philosophy that healed my insecurities. While this is an exaggerated account of a story that might not even be the true origin of this philosophy, I do think it helps us better understand what this philosophy is. The craftsman's method used for the Japanese shogun is what is now called Kintsugi. It's the process of repairing broken pottery by mending each piece together using yurushi lacquer dusted with gold, silver, or platinum. Yurushi is a powerful tree sap that can withstand alkali, acid, alcohol, and can even resist temperatures of up to 570 degrees Fahrenheit. But how exactly does any of this relate to human insecurities? Well, it all has to do with how we choose to view the broken parts of ourselves. I want to paint another vivid picture in your head. I was about 12 years old, camped out in my parents' room, huddled into the corner farthest from the door so nobody could hear what I was about to say. I dialed a number on my phone and put it up to my ear once it started ringing. Eventually, it reached the voicemail of my Little League baseball coach. I sighed in relief, knowing I wouldn't have to actually speak to him. When the automated voicemail finished, I began by nervously saying, "Hey coach, it's Cole." I paused to make sure I didn't stutter over my words. "So, I've been dealing with this leg injury and I'm trying to make a bit more time for my homework, so I won't be able to play on the team anymore." I fought back the urge to let the tears that swelled around my eyes run down my face. "So yeah, thanks for letting me be on the team, and maybe I'll play next year." I hung up the phone and my throat started to relax a bit. Nothing I had told the coach was even the slightest bit true, and the truth was, I was one of the worst players on the team. I was one of the last batters in the lineup, and even when I did get the opportunity to hit, I'd strike out 8 times out of 10. My position in the outfield was as insignificant as everything else I felt I had accomplished as a teenager. There were many parts of myself that I tried to hide from others. The parts that didn't meet society's standards of what is considered valuable, the parts of myself that doubted my intelligence whenever I'd fail my next chemistry or English test, and the parts of myself that felt painfully inadequate when I compared them to the ease in which other people could embody that trait or level of confidence. When you're a child and other people's perception of your worth is solely based on your achievements, then if you don't meet the requirements of those achievements, you don't get any sort of positive reinforcement. It's only, how could you have thought that was a good idea? How could you be so stupid doing this? You'll never truly become great, or look how ugly and weird you are. Each negative reinforcement is like a crack or a scar that, while not physically visible, is apparent in the way you carry yourself. Think about it. If you were told from the start of your life that you could do anything and that your worth need not be derived from how much work you do in a day or how well you excel in athletics, education, or relationships, then practically everybody would feel like an impenetrable being. But that's just not the way humans work. The truth is, human nature can be really nasty. We compare one person's beauty to the average, and if it's below the average, many people will treat you poorly for it. If the people you surround yourself with have more money or better grades than you, you're naturally going to feel less secure about your value as a person. If everyone around you seems like they can talk to people or get a significant other with ease, and you can barely form a sentence when you talk to someone you're attracted to, you're going to keep living in fear like there's nothing that can be done to fix your broken character. I'm not trying to argue here that comparison or having societal standards is always bad. I think that everyone should try to uphold and reach a certain standard of themselves so that we don't just completely piss our lives away and not care about it. A little bit of shame sometimes is valuable. But when you decide whether a part of you deserves to be loved and secure or not based on how other people perceive that part of you and their perception of that is negative, that's when all of your insecurities guide your decisions. And when insecurity guides all of your decisions, you live a life in the shadows, afraid of exposing yourself to the light. Because light is authenticity. The light is where you've been hurt so many times before. While this reminder of Kintsugi is extremely powerful in relieving your insecurities, another thing that has helped me so much in relieving my doubts and insecurities about my life is therapy, and that's why I want to talk about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. A couple years ago, when I was going through one of the worst mental struggles in my life before I moved here to Austin, I went to therapy, and that session was so incredibly helpful to make sure that I wasn't going crazy and that nothing was wrong with me. I was just going through what a lot of humans go through. And dealing with that through my therapist, who gave me advice and gave me steps to do, was so helpful. So what BetterHelp does is it connects you to a licensed professional therapist who is trained to give you helpful advice. First, you go to the site and you can use my link, betterhelp.com/Cole. You answer a few questions and then BetterHelp will match you to that professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. There are two great parts about BetterHelp that I think really makes it amazing. The first part is that you can do it anywhere on a phone or on a computer. You can schedule phone calls and messaging. Any way that is the easiest and most accessible way for you to get into therapy, you can do. You'll be matched with a therapist within 48 hours so you can get started pretty much right away. And if you find that your therapist isn't the best therapist for you, then you can change it for free at any time. Also something you can't really do in real life. So check out BetterHelp, let them connect you with a therapist who can help you by using my link, betterhelp.com/Cole, that is betterhelp.com/Cole, or you can use my channel name, Cole Hastings, at checkout for a discount on your first month. So here's the real secret to it all, and this is what the Japanese art form of Kintsugi entails. The paradox of insecurity is that fixing your insecurities won't fix your problems, but highlighting them will. The problem isn't the insecurities themselves, but rather how you choose to shine light on the insecurities. So a couple months ago, I was at a friend's surprise birthday party at a bar, and I don't drink alcohol, and I was talking to another one of my friends who I don't think was drinking, and he said something like, yeah, it's just so weird to stand in a bar when you don't know what to do with your hands, and you almost forget how much holding a beer acts like a social glue. And I replied to him, yeah, that's partly why I have a water in my hand right now. And he must have thought that there were more things that he couldn't see about me beyond my appearance, because he asked me, are you insecure about anything? Instead of avoiding the question or giving some flaky response to pivot the conversation, I embraced that question and I said, oh yeah, exactly like that. He seemed curious and he said, well, about what? And the first thing I could think of was that, sometimes I subconsciously think that I am not worthy of being loved for who I am, and I think that's partly why I chase so many external achievements all the time. I said this all with a giant smile on my face, and I did so because I knew there was nothing my friend could say to hurt me or make me feel bad about these facts. Within myself, I had already filled in all the cracks that I had accumulated throughout the course of my life with gold, just like the Chinese tea bowl. When you hear me talk about the fact that a part of me feels like I'm not worthy of being loved, how does that make you feel about me? Maybe you can relate to me, or maybe it provides a sense of relief knowing that someone you watch online goes through the same struggles as you. But the thing I think the most whenever someone brings up a vulnerability or highlights their insecurity is that that is just a beautiful expression of being human. The human species is not a perfectly designed creature, not by a long shot. We are not meant to look or act like ethereal gods and present ourselves in such a way as to only show what society tells us it's okay to show. We are meant to be insecure and share those insecurities with one another, because at the deepest level of what it means to be human is being broken in one way or another. You see, insecurities are not a bug, they're a feature. They're supposed to be highlighted in the same way that the broken pieces of pottery can be highlighted to form its own unique piece. When each broken part of you is mended in gold, and it creates an elegant design separate from what everyone else's cracks look like, that's when the pieces that form the essence of you become valuable. A human that is insecure, owns their insecurities, and sees them as what makes them valuable is way more of a human than the human that tries to abolish their insecurities. You can instantly tell the difference in strength and vitality between the person who has been through a lot but tries to ignore or evade anything regarding it, and the person who has gone through much of the same but has chosen to highlight their struggles as an integral part of what makes them who they are. You might even start to feel uncomfortable in the presence of that latter type of person just because of how free and open they seem to be, and you can't do anything to knock them down. They see their imperfections as the very thing that adds beauty and value to their being. They are okay with loving and getting hurt. They are okay with desiring a different life and potentially failing to get there. And they are okay with not being totally confident and feeling anxious and scared. As a result, they are the most confident person in the room precisely because of their brokenness. Perfectionism is a diabolical, inhuman pursuit of those afraid of the reality of humanity, and extreme measures to become more perfect appearing are becoming all the more prominent today. So in a world that tells you that there are so many parts of you that need to be fixed by either hiding them or replacing them, choose to be the outlier that highlights them. I'm not afraid to show any part of myself that might be considered ugly or weird or any other strange features that I have, and therefore the insecurities I have cease to be insecurities. So therein lies the secret. Insecurities are the creation of a mind that views the so-called negative aspects of human nature as something to be rid of. And if you no longer see it as something to be rid of, but instead revered, the insecurities transform into strength. When you do this, it does not mean that the world is going to stop insulting or ridiculing you. If anything, it's going to be the opposite, because your cracks will now be easily visible for everyone to see. But since you yourself chose to accentuate the cracks, their opinion holds no weight. And you'll soon come to realize that other people's opinions of your cracks are merely a reflection of the cracks that they are afraid to highlight within themselves. Many internal battles I go through or humiliating defeats I will inevitably endure in the future will continue to be shared in this channel in the hopes that you will start embracing these imperfections as well. Because when we take each broken, ugly, flawed part of ourselves that we initially can't bear to look at, and we fortify their repairs with gold instead of trying to paint over them, that's when we become the imperfectly perfect creature we were always meant to be. A lot of you might still doubt your ability to own your insecurities and meet them with a smile. And to those people, I ask you this. How do you feel when you think about the parts of yourself that the world taught you to hate? Ask yourself this question many times a day. Look at these parts of you without a filter and meet them like a non-judgmental parent who only wants to give their child unconditional love would meet them. The more that you do that, the easier this philosophical practice of Kintsugi will become. More than anything, this is an internal process. You don't need to flaunt your insecurities all the time, letting it define who you are. But you should be grateful that you are human enough to accept the pain, suffering, setbacks, and unhappiness that comes with life's insecurities. There are many things that become stronger and more beautiful when they've been broken and put back together. And being human is one of them. What I love about humanity is that when you find the right group of people who inspire you, who make you want to be better, you just 10 times your life. It is the greatest experience to share your wins and your improvement with other people. And I wanted to create a community like that, so I created a free self-improvement community, which you can find going to the link in the description below. Completely free. I have free courses in that community too, so you should check it out and maybe you'll meet some cool people in there as well. I've got more videos about insecurities. This one is one of my personal favorites, so check that out if you want some more guidance. And I'm heading out. I love you guys. Peace.